Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast that has two words to describe the match we just saw in the Cruiserweight Classic. Mama fucking Mia. Okay, that's three words, but this is Lost in the Midcard. This is the calm before the storm, so to speak. Next episode coming at you next week, we'll be previewing three pay-per-view specials: TakeOver Brooklyn, SummerSlam, and Death Before Dishonor on the Ring of Honor side. So lots to talk about next week, but we got a lot to talk about this week too. And before we get to that, I'd like to thank SpiderDuck.net for being our host and enabling us to be on iTunes and any of your favorite podcasting apps. Just open that sumbitch up, type in Lost in the Midcard, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you have done so already, tell all your friends to do so already. That way, every time we go live with a new show, you know it, every Thursday, along with every Monday after a pay-per-view by the WWE. You can subscribe to us on YouTube as well. The links to both of those are on our Facebook page. In the notes section, go to facebook.com/LostInTheMidcard. Also, we have it on our pinned tweet on Twitter at LITMC Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Bennett. I am on the Twitter at JBHuskers. And as always, my co-host, he is on the Twitter at Raw F Showtime. It is Mr. Matt Black. Matt Black, happy birthday week to you, sir.
Thank you, good sir. I appreciate it.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. That was a fun couple hours of wrestling on the network Wednesday nights. I very, very much enjoy. I find myself enjoying Wednesday night wrestling more than I enjoy anything I see on Monday and Tuesday nights.
Yeah, it's a shame that it's going to have to end in about a month, but at least half of that. God, tonight, yeah. In all the things that we've seen in NXT so far, I never thought we would see "Got Your Nose."
I don't think I'd ever thought I'd see that in professional wrestling. Period.
But it's no surprise who played "Got Your Nose." That was pretty funny. We'll talk about NXT. We'll talk about match of the year contender across all boards later on in the Cruiserweight Classic. Not to be overshadowed by that was a great opening match as well between Tajiri and Grand Metalik. We will get to all that here in just a moment, but let's go to headlines. Just 2 short weeks after we broke down an amazing 30 minutes of audio that was taken down, we have now learned that Joey Styles is no longer with the WWE. This was announced on August 8th, and that he is gone from the WWE. Basically, he was brought into the WWE for the One Night Stand pay-per-view in 2005, a great revival of the ECW brand. He also then was play-by-play for the horrible ECW show that they did. But then Styles was then signed with the company, basically overseeing the digital content on WWE.com, and he had been doing so for about 10 years now, I would say, maybe a little less, but it very, very interesting that we covered the fact that there was this great interview, shooting straight from the hip, Matt, and then 2 weeks later he's gone.
Yeah, for all we know, he was gone earlier than that. Just took a while for the news to break. Yeah, that dude hasn't tweeted in a while, which leads me to believe that he might have been released. He might have been released a lot longer than we knew.
on July 28th.
Yeah, maybe.
God, when did that come out? I mean, we covered it 2 weeks ago, right? Was that right? We covered that Facebook Live show.
I think so.
Yeah, so and 2 weeks ago would have been the 27th, and the last time Styles tweeted was the 28th, which was the day after that aired. Or, well, not the day after that aired. That aired probably like a Monday or Tuesday. Wow. Yeah. So, Joey had publicly said he has no interest in wrestling or announcing again. But I mean, there's a lot of options out there nowadays, Matt. Most notably TNA, so he could replace Douche Matthews. But do you see Joey getting back into the wrestling world, or just taking what he did for the past 10 years and doing it with another company?
Well, it all depends on what he wants to do. I don't know. I know Taz mentioned earlier this week that he felt he was going to have him on the Taz show soon to talk about things. So maybe we'll find out more then. I would love,
that'll be fun.
I would love to have him go to TNA and improve their commentary product, because I think that's one of the several things that could help improve their overall product right now would be fixing their commentary team and ejecting Josh Matthews and putting in Joey Styles with like a Jeremy Borash. I think the two of those together would be a phenomenal commentary team, and TNA could use a complete overhaul of their commentary crew right now.
Speaking of TNA getting a shot in the arm, there's a little spoiler. I don't know if we want to spoil it now, Matt, or we just want to let them watch tomorrow.
It's not a spoiler because the person who's debuting tweeted about it.
Okay, well then I didn't know that. So
yeah, he's like, "Oh, this is interesting. Make sure you watch tomorrow." I'm like, "Oh, okay, thanks." Like, we didn't freaking already know. Now we know. So yeah,
Aaron Stevens, aka Damian Sandow, will debut on Impact tomorrow night.
And if he's used as well as they use Ethan Carter and Drew Galloway and stuff like that, they've got another main event star on their hands.
And Mike Bennett.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if they treat him right, they've got another main event player there for years to come. So honestly good for TNA. That's a major get for their roster.
I could only assume Ryback is following him.
Yeah, you would think Ryborg's on his way.
We'll cover some Ryback stuff here in a little bit, but yes, Aaron. I don't know what he's going to be called. Aaron Stevens, maybe.
I would assume Aaron the Idol Stevens. I'm assuming he owns that. There's no way he can be called Damian Sandow. So,
no, maybe he could be called Damian Mandow or Mizdow. I mean, did they trademark Mizdow?
I have no idea, but I highly doubt he'd want to be called that.
Impact did suffer some ratings drop though, down to 317,000. Don't know what really is the cause of that. Maybe that they're just in a kind of a standstill right now. Nothing majorly exciting happening right now. As the heat of the moment of Broken Matt Hardy kind of finally dwindled down, has that kind of worn off with the casual crowd at this point, and now it's just back to the regular viewing crowd for TNA, Matt?
I would say the bloom's off the rose a little bit. People have seen it. You know, the people who liked it stuck around. The people who have got their fill have moved on. I'm still watching. I won't say at 8 o'clock on Thursday night I have to be in front of my television to watch Impact, but it's still on my DVR every week. If I'm around when it's on, I'll catch it. If not, I'll watch it on DVR or whenever. And honestly, that's all TNA cares about anyways, their DVR numbers. Pop TV and them have made it very clear they don't care about the overnight numbers anymore. So
Raw and SmackDown this week. Raw saw its first dip below 3 million since the brand split, and we'll pretty much go into why that.
I was going to say they kind of deserved it.
Yeah, they kind of deserved it. It was not a good show at all. SmackDown also suffered, barely breaking 2 million. So now the bloom looks like it's off the brand split rose as well.
I would know
not 2
they
million,
didn't.
I'm sorry. They got 2 point. I'm sorry. Never mind. Back up on that. SmackDown stayed steady with 2.68 million views.
No. SmackDown was 2.455. Down from last week's 2.861.
Oh, the way they worded it said they dropped 2,000 viewers. That's
incorrect.
Yeah, the way this on PW Insider worded it was wrong.
No, they lost roughly around 150 to 175,000 viewers. It isn't the worst, but I mean it's not great either. It sucks because SmackDown's going in a better direction while Raw's going in the wrong direction.
Well, the last 3 months of SmackDown, that's a good number for them. So 2.45 is still a good number for them. So, while Raw heads back to where it was.
Well, also SmackDown was missing a lot of its star power on Tuesday night too. Mm-hmm. You know, Styles wasn't there, Cena wasn't there. You know, when you're missing those guys bring ratings. I'm sure WWE probably expected their ratings to be a little lower on Tuesday night with the absence of those guys.
And for some god-awful reason, they kept Sami Zayn off of Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I don't even have a reasoning that would make sense for that. Raw is running into a disturbing trend that used to be reserved for SmackDown, where they would just do the rematches that everybody didn't want to see again on SmackDown Thursday. So we didn't really see it on Raw again, or vice versa. They do the match first on SmackDown, then they do it again on Raw.
Yeah.
Now that there's no show in between, they're just doing rematches from last week's show on Monday again. I'm like, what the fuck are you idiots doing? There's no excuse with the roster that Raw has right now that they should be doing rematches for some of this stuff.
Like I said on Twitter on Monday night ago, this looks like a 3-hour infomercial for Raw, not a 3-hour Raw. It's like it was like I wonder what the total in-ring time was for that Raw on Monday. It was very low.
There was way too much talking. Like the amount of in-ring segments, there was just way too many.
Continue to make your $9.99 worth a lot more than $9.99. The WWE Network has added a lot of programming near and dear to my heart. Saturday at 6:05, the episodes of Jim Crockett Promotions World Championship Wrestling TV that aired on Saturday nights on TBS from these episodes that they've just added from 87, 88, and 89. So some great content there. Definitely worth checking out. Get to see Sting in his early incarnations. Obviously Ric Flair, the Four Horsemen, Dusty Rhodes, lots of good stuff there. Our weekly Cody Rhodes update. Cody Rhodes announced the following. He'll be taking on Kurt Angle October 8th at the Silver Blades Arena in Greater Manchester. So that'll be a fun one for the Manchester crowd on October 8th, where Cody Rhodes takes on Kurt Angle. Just a shame Kurt Angle wasn't on Raw last week, like they teased. Some bad news for the Blue brand on SmackDown. They've learned that former Intercontinental Champion Shelton Benjamin will not be returning to SmackDown as he is going to undergo surgery for a torn rotator cuff. So his career will have to be on hold. The injury was learned of when he underwent a physical to compete for the company. So he says he would be back, though obviously he has to focus on the surgery and recovery. Obviously, Randy Orton had something very similar, which put him on the shelf for 9 months. So it's going to be a little bit of a wait before we get Shelton Benjamin on the SmackDown brand. Conor McGregor sure made some headlines with the WWE this week. First off, he called professional wrestlers pussies. And then also said, well, I don't mean any disrespect to the fans. What I meant was I'd slap the head off your entire roster and twice on Sundays, which led to a bevy of responses from pro wrestlers. One of my favorites was Roman Reigns. You're the size of my leg, shut up. AJ Styles, I think McGregor could do well in the featherweight division if WWE had one. Sheamus, never show Jack Russell a mirror. It thinks it's a majestic Irish wolfhound. Really, it's just an annoying wee yapper trying to sell tickets. Kurt Angle, very funny little guy. Why don't you get your head out of Dana White's ass? Well, Ric Flair, after Diaz finishes you again, I dare you to try guys like Dolph, Brock, or Fit. Oh, you're welcome for your gimmick. Oh man, Fit Finlay would beat the piss out of him. What else? We got a few more.
Once you rattle these off, I'm going to give my conspiracy theory to this entire situation. Because
Rusev,
I think there's more to this than meets the eye.
Rusev, so much talk for a guy who fights 15-minute matches twice a year. Good for you, Conor McGregor. Rusev. Curtis Axel, cool name, by the way. You think you could slap my head off? Come try me. I'd mop your sorry ass. Baron Corbin, I beg to differ, kid. Short and sweet. Bubba Dudley. I'd pay good money to see Kurt Angle stretch the piss out of Conor McGregor and make him tap. Hashtag it's true. Big E, would you prefer to find us individually or have us all lined up at once? I know your time is valuable, sir. Kofi. Yikes, looks like Conor could really use a bowl of Bootios right now. Someone hook him up. Dolph Ziggler, I volunteer as a tribute. A little Hunger Games there. Just need to drop 40 pounds and find where every dude in Brooklyn gets their haircut. And tats. Sasha just says, bring it. Titus O'Neil says, not a fan of foolish behavior on social media. I'd welcome Conor to any WWE show. We can go from there. Ric Flair said some more. Coming from a guy who built a career copying my persona, I expected the type of class we'd get from Ronda or Anderson after Diaz finishes you again. Okay, so this was just a kind of more for that. And finally, Bill DeMott. I'm late to the party. What weight class and what size locker room is being called out? All right, Matt. Well, you think there's probably going to be a little something at WrestleMania?
No, I don't actually. I think this is just the conspiracy theorist in me. But I would not be surprised within the next month to month and a half we hear the announcement that the latest celebrity in WWE 2K17 is Conor McGregor. And you want to beat him up, you want to beat up the WWE roster with him, whatever you want to do, you can do it in 2K17. To me, the entire thing just reeks of some kind of marketing promotion, and to me, it totally seems like something 2K would do.
Yes, and a good segue, Matt, as it was announced earlier in the week that Diddy, Sean Combs, would be the curator for the soundtrack to WWE 2K17, hence his guest star role in Monday Night Raw. Hence, Matt said, relax, he's only going to be on there for 5 minutes, and he was.
He might have been less than 5 minutes.
It was probably less than 5 minutes. I can't wait to see him on Up, Up, Down, Down. Apparently, he's going to be making a cameo on a future Up, Up, Down, Down.
Can you believe he asked about Big E's nuts?
He did. Could you believe Mick Foley trying to act cool? I thought that was funny as hell.
I liked the blank look on Mick Foley's face as Diddy was just naming off the list of people that were going to be on his tour, and Foley just looked like a deer in the headlights. I'm like, I don't know anybody that you're naming, but I'm going to stand here and look interested.
Oh, man.
But yeah, way to take a step back on your soundtrack, 2K. Because 2K16 soundtrack was actually pretty solid for the most part. You guys took a big step back this year. This year's soundtrack sucks.
I made the joke. I go, Foley goes to his daughter, hey, who are these guys? And, well, obviously they were around before she was really born, so I go as Noel. I go, I don't know. I think they wrote Rapper's Delight.
She was on Twitter pandering to her dad to get those tickets off of him.
Oh, I'm sure.
Shameless.
I don't know how much money is spent. Obviously, budgets are different between producing the game and marketing the game. But I mean, 2K17 did this with Pharrell for NBA too. So, or Jay did it, or maybe they did it with it's either Pharrell or Jay-Z, or maybe they did Jay-Z one year and Pharrell the next. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure Jay-Z has done a year. I don't remember what year. But yeah, I think it was like 2K15 was Jay-Z for NBA. Like,
it's so weird how you have...
but they do this kind of stuff all the time. To me, it's just an absolute waste of budget money. When honestly, I would just be happy. Take the entrance tracks from the game and make them the background music.
Oh, I always loved that back in the day.
And I did that with 2K16 anyway. I got the regular soundtrack on there, and I went into the jukebox and I turned on every single wrestling theme I like, and I had them intermixed with the soundtrack.
It's so funny how you get like you got 21 Pilots, which is probably one of the hottest acts right now. Then you got some good rappers like Action Bronson. Yellow Wolf is on there too. And then in there randomly is Paranoid by Black Sabbath,
which is really the only track in the entire listing that I like. 21 Pilots is okay, but really looking down that entire list, the only track I was like, oh yeah, that's cool, was the Black Sabbath track. And then that's it. Like, they really took a step backwards on the soundtrack this year. It's pretty brutal. 2K, please just spend the money where it matters. Spend it on the game. Make the game better. Stop worrying about soundtracks that at the end of the day, I would say probably a good 75% of your buyer base just turns the soundtrack off in jukebox anyway.
Well, here's what I do is, like, when I'm just fucking around with my career and stuff, I'll have the other TV going, clearing off the DVR, so I don't even have the game audio on because I don't need to hear repetitive commentary.
Yeah, they could really use a commentary overhaul in that entire game, and clearly from the entrance videos we've seen from IGN, that didn't happen because It looks like it's still Cole, Lawler, and JBL. Granted, we haven't seen a Smackdown arena yet, so I would love it to be back at like the old Smackdown versus Raw games, where there was a commentary team on Raw and a commentary team on SmackDown. Like, if we please God, let Mauro Ranallo be commentating the SmackDown arenas in this game with somebody. I don't give a damn who he's commentating it with. Just Mauro and anybody. And I will never wrestle in a Raw branded arena on my entire lifespan of that game. The commentary, they need to scrap the entire commentary track and start over. It's awful. It's brutal in the worst possible way.
They need to take a page out of Madden, what Madden did this year. Madden, a completely whole new commentary team with God, I can't remember the guy. The guy, he called Georgia Tech football games, and then Charles Davis. I'm drawing a blank right now, but anyways, they had them both in the studio at the same time recording. So and you could tell on videos that have come out for Madden this year that you could tell those guys were in the studio playing off each other. It sounded fresh. It sounded great. It was exciting. You could see conversations. And that's what they need to do, because I guarantee you they take each individual announcer in WWE and have them record lines, and then they just mush them together.
The problem is NBA 2K, in my opinion, has the greatest sports commentary in any sports game on the market right now, and it's not even close. And the fact that they can produce that game and at the same time produce the commentary garbage that we see in the WWE series is embarrassing. Have some fucking pride in your product and get the shit right. Like, we're already going on WWE Games tangent. It ain't even our special yet because 2K still hasn't given us a feature set. Thanks, guys.
Play now. That's all you get this year.
Well, Gamescom is next week. I'm assuming we're gonna get something, and I'm assuming we're gonna get the feature set next week. So,
not quite major breaking news, but a little bit of breaking news. Buff Bagwell suing the WWE over royalties over the WWE Network. Good luck with that, buddy.
Yeah, has he not watched every other idiot who's tried to do this and has already failed?
Yeah.
Buff, you're a moron.
You should just sue Andrade Cien Almas for stealing your clothes.
He's going to get a glorious beatdown in a few weeks anyway.
If you follow the big guy on the Instagram, you'll get a great video of Ryback wishing the WWE the best in their future endeavors. I loved it. And funny enough, it took 3 days later for the WWE to announce that they have come to terms with the release of the Ryback.
Oh, I didn't even know they officially announced it yet. I haven't been paying attention.
They did on Monday.
About damn time.
And I think Ryback's video was Friday. And we already know what Ryback's going to do first. He's going to be at WrestlePro on October 14th in Crestkill, New York, and Brooklyn, New York on the 15th of October. And it has been known that he will be billed as the big guy. So that's what he'll be known as, apparently.
For now.
Ring of Honor just got themselves a little nice signing, as it has been announced that Will Ospreay will make his Ring of Honor debut on the Reach for the Sky Tour in the UK this November. And so announced for the tour already are Jay Lethal, the Briscoes, the Bucks, and Dalton Castle. Adding Will Ospreay to Ring of Honor, Matt, is just yes.
I don't really know if it's as yes as people want to believe it is. It's clear to me that this is nothing more than the continued partnership between Ring of Honor and New Japan. I don't believe that Will Ospreay is becoming an official member of the Ring of Honor roster. I think he'll be.
He's going to still be on TV.
Yeah, but I don't think it'll be as frequent as people expect it to be. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think you'll see him any more in a given year on RHTV than you see an average New Japan star. So I really wouldn't be that excited about Will Ospreay coming in at the moment, because I really think right now it's much ado about nothing.
It'll be a good set of TV to watch, though. Anything more on the Evolve thing with Paul Heyman?
Nope. Not a peep.
Did you watch Impact this past week?
Is it sad that I can't remember? I'm sure I saw bits and pieces of it. Probably fast forwarded on a DVR. I don't remember.
A big night for James Storm. He becomes the King of the Mountain champion.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah,
I think that was obviously just to put it on a more viable contender for Lashley to take it off him, as Matt has said on the last couple weeks, that he expects at Bound for Glory that Lashley's going to do the thing that they did with Angle a few years back, where he holds all the singles gold and has 3 matches. They set up the stage for the finals of the Bound for Glory playoffs, where EC3 and Mike Bennett will face each other in the main event. Gail Kim took on Allie, and then it turned into a handicap match with Allie and Sienna, where Gail Kim was able to get out of that with the victory. James Storm will take on Lashley next week, title versus title. Though it would be sweet to see James Storm hold 2 pieces of gold in TNA. I doubt that's going to happen. Brother Nero versus he has a handicap match, and my boy on TNA, man, Chuck Taylor. Fuck yeah, I'm excited. I'm a big Chuck Taylor. I've been a big Chuck Taylor fan for many, many years. So it's good to see him on the Impact Wrestling there. For some reason, the Grotto and Poor Man Mason Ryan and Tribunal feud is still going on. This is the first I've seen it even happening on television in weeks, and that's still going on apparently. Well, so and then they're still doing the Rosemary and Bram thing, all those vignettes, and finally the main event: Ethan Carter III versus Mike Bennett, Bound for Glory playoff finals. And very good match from what I've heard. Mike Bennett very close to winning it, but EC3 comes out the champion. So very much looking for EC3 and Lashley at Bound for Glory. Monday Night Raw, 3rd week of the brand split. We are in Anaheim, California this week, where we basically, like I said, Matt, a fucking 3-hour infomercial for Raw. You said no, it's a 3-hour infomercial for SummerSlam. I go, no, it's not that even. It's not even that good. It's just a 3-hour infomercial for a television show.
To me, I thought it was a 3-hour infomercial to watch SummerSlam.
Or a 3 hour throwaway to the Olympics.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't a good show, and honestly, I don't even want to spend a whole lot of time talking about it.
We probably won't because it's just a lot of talking.
There wasn't anything that it's really disappointing to see how far down Raw can fall in 3 weeks, and how quickly SmackDown can be at a lowest point and rise above Raw. And in 3 weeks' times, it's like the chart graph completely switched itself.
And it's not even Olympics because the Olympics were on Tuesday too. So, and SmackDown didn't, they lost about 150,000 viewers or so, but still 2.45 is a solid number for them. It was more than they were getting the last 3 months on their USC run on Thursdays. So, where Raw is just back to where it was, which is not that good at all.
Well, honest to God, they deserve it.
Enzo and Cass kick off.
When you put on a shitty show, you deserve a shitty rating.
Enzo and Cass kick off Monday Night Raw. Enzo doing his usual great stuff. And Chris Jericho comes out wearing a scarf, of course, with his ring gear. And basically is talking shit to Enzo and Cass. I liked when Jericho said he talked to the great Jim and Marvin Luter, and he got advice on got some advice from Jim, and him and Kevin Owens are now closer than ever. Then Cass made the Bert and Ernie joke between Jericho and Owens, and this basically led to Jericho calling out Cass, but. I guess he was talking to Enzo instead. He goes, "No, you were looking right at me." No, I wasn't. So, as bad as Raw was, or promo heavy as Raw was, Matt, I enjoyed the segment with these gentlemen.
I thought it was good for what it was. I thought it went a little too long. But I thought it was a good way to start the show. Mm-hmm. But they surely didn't keep the momentum as the night went on. This was one of the to me, this was one of the oddest occurrences of Raw, and I always felt it should be this way, but they normally never book it. It went, hour 1 was the worst. Hour 2 was better than hour 1, but it wasn't great. And hour 3 was pretty solid, but it still wasn't amazing. The show got better as the night went on, but yeah, just something was missing from the whole show overall.
Well, it doesn't help when your main event is announced 5 minutes before 10 or 11 on your end of the neck, your neck of the woods.
Yeah, with the guy who already worked earlier in the night.
So a good start to Raw, good promo, and then we got ourselves a pretty good 12-minute match with Enzo and Kevin Jericho. No, Enzo and Chris Jericho. A good 12-minute match between these guys. And they didn't job Enzo out like you'd think they did. Enzo looked really good against Jericho, and they ended up with with a disqualification when Owens hit Enzo, and so that just pissed off Cass, and Cass just lit into Jericho, so that caused the DQ to get Chris Jericho the win. I want a Jericho shirt, Matt. But of course, if they sell them, they'll probably break them up in about a month, right?
I like Y2KO better.
Y2KO? Mick Foley is talking backstage to Stephanie McMahon. Talks about he has invited Daniel Bryan to Raw for a little GM sit-down tonight. And then Sasha Banks shows up. Banks says she wants a handicap match at SummerSlam with Charlotte and Dana Brooke. Foley says that he wants to put Banks in a match with Dana Brooke, and then if Banks wins, Brooke is banned from ringside at SummerSlam, but if Dana Brooke wins, it is a handicap match. Braun Strowman comes out to kill a guy that looks like Drake, so I put on Twitter, rest in peace Drake, because that guy got murdered. Here we go. Matt, this makes sense, right? The jobber gets a ring entrance, but the very next match between Titus O'Neil and Darren Young, neither one of them got an entrance.
I've got nothing for you, pal.
in between, we got our little segment with Puff Daddy that we already talked about. Darren Young, Titus O'Neil, basically just a flip-flop of last week. Young grabs the tights, wins in 2 minutes. He grabbed the tights. The key thing is he grabbed the tights while Bob Backlund's back was turned. So who knows what happened there. But anyways, 1-1. They both cheated to win. We'll see what happens. This will probably be your SummerSlam pre-show match.
Oh, yeah.
Seth Rollins comes out and cuts a promo at the top of hour number 2. Talks about how Finn is a knockoff of himself, basically the Jared Leto to his Heath Ledger. Except I thought Jared Leto was a kick-ass Joker in Suicide Squad.
Love that movie.
What'd you think?
I love the movie. I've seen it twice. Once in 3D, once in not. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. And the critics can kiss my ass.
A lot of. Apparently, we got to watch the Blu-ray because a lot of Joker was cut out from the theatrical.
David Ayer said today in an interview that there's about 7 different versions of the film out there right now. So apparently, there's a lot of stuff we haven't seen. Hell, I love the extended cut of Batman v Superman. Give me an extended cut of Suicide Squad, and I'm there.
Yep. Yeah, I heard the Blu-ray of Batman Superman. It makes so much more sense.
It is. It's honestly, it's 30 more minutes long, and like it's a 3-hour long movie at that point, but it fleshes out the beginning so well. Everything makes more sense. Honestly, they should have just that edition should have hit the theaters. They should have taken out whatever was going to give it the R rating, and that's what we should have seen. I honestly feel the reviews would have been a lot kinder to the movie overall if that edition would have hit theaters instead of what they gave us back in March.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the Blu-ray edition.
It's excellent. I highly recommend it.
My birthday's coming up, so I'm just holding off on buying anything.
Makes sense.
Rollins brags about how he's better than Michael Phelps. He speaks that everybody knows how great he is. He mentioned that Finn Balor really isn't his name, and it's just that he created his legacy under another man. Rollins laughs how Finn means some warrior thing and Balor means Demon King. He joked about calling himself Rambo Apocalypse, and
there's a lot of tweets on Twitter about that Monday night.
That was hilarious. Some people thought that would be Ryback's new name. Some people thought that was Braun Strowman's alter ego. Either way, that was hilarious. Rambo Apocalypse.
Oh my!
He in the end he calls out the Demon for next week. So
if I'm WWE, there's no fucking way.
No,
I'm bringing Balor out in paint on Raw prior to SummerSlam. If you wanted to do that, I would have brought him out as the Demon to beat Roman Reigns.
Let me tell you what
he started at the beginning of the night, and then at the end of the night he came out in the paint. That's how. That's what I would have done. They did. Let me tell you, there's no way I'm bringing out the Demon.
Let me tell you what they're going to need to do. I don't know if they'll do this, but let me tell you what they're going to need to do. They're going to do all the theatrics. They're going to the smoke, the lighting, all that shit. You're going to make you think that the Demon's coming out, but no. Instead, Balor attacks Rollins from behind and beats the shit out of him.
I don't know. I kind of like the fact that they've hardly touched.
Yeah. Next up is Sheamus versus Cesaro. Oh, like Matt said, a rematch of last week. But this was the match we should have got instead of the 5-minute match last week. But a very good match nonetheless between Sheamus and Cesaro. I'm definitely loving the feud so far. They got 12 minutes. Basically, Sheamus cheating to win with Sheamus tried to cheat to win with a roll-up, but the ref was dazed and hurt. Sheamus starts bitching at the ref, and that's when Cesaro gets a roll-up for the win after 12 minutes. Great match, good. Like I said, the same that we've always have had between these two. So it's always good when these guys have a feud. Video package with Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar. They aired clips of OVW, basically showing Lesnar debuting and just killing everybody. Orton talks about how Cena, Batista, and Shelton Benjamin were also there, and how they both got called up in 2002 and how they both went on to win world titles. Brock became the youngest champion ever, and then Randy Orton broke that record later on. Then he goes, Lesnar left because he didn't like people, and Orton said that pissed him off. Lesnar's now shown talking with Paul Heyman, and Lesnar says he didn't really care about Orton. He said there's irrelevance between him and Orton. Lesnar says what he's done supersedes what Orton has done. Lesnar claimed that he's a megastar while Orton is just a star. He is on another universe from Orton, and then they show the RKO that Randy hit on Raw, and Orton said he did what he had to do in order to provoke him. Lesnar said Orton is just another guy. He's not the guy to beat Brock Lesnar. Heyman said that Orton is the best surfer on the beach, which our buddy Ultra Liger said, I beg to differ, and showed a picture of Shinsuke Nakamura. Orton thinks that Lesnar's underestimating him because he said he just one RKO he's going to Viperville. Lesnar said he's like a fucking robot, and Orton and Orton said it's the biggest SummerSlam match ever. Pretty cool. I thought that was a cool little video package there to set up the match, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, WWE's video packaging is always excellent. I don't think anybody should be surprised that they did an excellent job building that. It's one of the things they do very well that I don't think they utilize enough. I think their video packages with the wrestlers talking in backstage environments like that, more often than not, do a lot better job of hyping the match than any in-ring segment can do.
That's true. Based off the pre-show for Monday Night Raw, the Dudley Boys were needling Neville and challenged him to find a partner, which I thought was going to be Sami Zayn because there was nowhere else to put him. Instead, we get Sin Cara, and Sin Cara looked all right. He looked like he hit the cheeseburgers, but don't tell him that; he'll knock you right in the face.
This was total. Honestly, it was totally embarrassing. Because they hyped this up like this was going to be some kind of big time tag partner for Neville, and you fucking tried out Sin Cara. It was the perfect example of everything that was wrong with Raw on Monday.
Yeah, it would have been great if it would have been somebody like Kota Ibushi, somebody from the Cruiserweight division.
Honest to God, they should have just been Finn Balor. He wasn't on Raw at all Monday night. Besides his interview segment, so he wasn't shown to the live crowd at all.
Yeah,
I had Finn Balor come out and decimate the Dudley Boys.
Yeah,
what would be wrong with that?
I thought it was going to be Sami Zayn for sure, just because they hadn't had anything for him.
Sami would have been great. Sami and Neville, that would have worked. I don't like that a hell of a lot more than Sin Cara.
What did you think of not the marriage celebration thing as a whole, but what did you think of Roman Reigns in this whole thing with Rusev and Lana? I liked it. I liked Roman Reigns' part in this thing.
I thought Roman was trying way too hard to be his cousin.
Yeah, well,
and I don't think it conveyed very well. It was fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it either. I mean, it was what it was. It was fine.
Yeah, we all knew Lana was going to eat cake, but it was great. There was some red
cake.
Some red stuff in the cake, so she looked like Carrie from Stephen King.
I think it was just a strawberry cake, bro.
Might be. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty fun segment. Roman Reigns is not getting booed as much now. I don't know if it's just coincidence 2 weeks in a row. Obviously, one, he was from Georgia, so the Atlanta crowd didn't boo him, but we're in Anaheim, California. Maybe they're just a I don't care crowd, but it just seems to me that the boos for Reigns were not heavy. But at Brooklyn, I think they're going to be pretty heavy. Sasha Banks and Dana Brooke were up next. That lasted all of 3 minutes with Sasha Banks winning. How about the Finn Balor video package? That thing was sweet. I thought it was a real good way to get people to know Finn Balor if you didn't know who he was. But at the same time, the background of his name and everything, I really loved that video package. That was probably...
I would say instead of having so many in-ring interview segments, give us more things like the Finn Balor interview segment that we got on Raw in the club interview segment. Because they were both minimized for time. They weren't. Neither of them were very long, but one was dead serious and explained the character and got it over, and the other one allowed Anderson and Gallows to show that these guys are pretty damn charismatic and they're pretty fucking funny, which anybody would know if you followed them in the Bullet Club, but they haven't allowed them to show this on WWE TV yet. So showcase more stuff like that in less in-ring talking, and I think you'll send the product on Raw in a better direction.
And that segment with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson dressed as doctors talking about ring postitis, which is basically your nuts hitting the ring post. Lots of jokes about balls and nuts and everything, and I thought it was hilarious. It was vintage Bullet Club, Matt. That led to Kofi Kingston taking on Luke Gallows. That lasted all of 2 minutes. Luke Gallows getting the win there. They were getting ready to have Kofi Kingston suffer from a case of ring postitis, but Xavier Woods made the save with a steel chair to keep Kofi's nuts intact. And during the segment of the doctors, Big E takes to Twitter and says, "Bruh." That's all he said. Bruh.
I don't blame him.
Next up is the GM segment. I don't know. It was a little odd.
It was really weird. It
didn't flow.
Like, it didn't make any sense. It's just like, we're out here to stall for time so we can announce the main event. You couldn't have done this in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
It didn't lead to any, like, if anything, the coolest thing they could have done is when Cesaro came out and like, yeah, you're not using him right. Let's do a trade for Cesaro. And
I thought that's what was going to happen.
That would have been so much better than anything that they came up with. It just wasn't good. I like Daniel Bryan and Mick Foley a lot, but the entire segment just didn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, it sounded like they were going to talk about the brands and Lesnar and Orton, and they really didn't talk about anything. They just apologized to each other, and then Cesaro came out, and so that led to a main event, which actually did go 10 minutes, even though it didn't start until after the hour. This is when the match actually started. But Cesaro and Rusev had a hell of a main event, though. Lots of near falls. A lot of people thinking, well, maybe Rusev's going on a honeymoon, and so Cesaro's going to get the title. But Rusev does an eye poke, and Sheamus hits a kick to Cesaro's head while he's by the ropes, and Cesaro then hits his own kick for the pinfall after 10 minutes, which was a great match, probably match of the night too, by the way. But just a shame that they announce it 5 to the end of the hour, and yeah, there you go. But it was a great way to end the night, and then following that was even more interesting stuff. Stone Cold, Steve Austin, and Dean Ambrose.
Yeah,
how about that?
This was something else.
How about that podcast?
Oh,
a little awkward, wasn't it?
Well, it got better as it went along. If I could say that if I could spin it in a positive way.
That was something to behold. They went into a lot of deep dark holes, and Austin's like, this just sounds like a bad childhood, and Dean's like, well, I was happy, And then I remember Dean gets the call to WWE. He's like, Austin's like, you're not fired up. He's like, this is just me. I'm chill, hey, So it was interesting. It was a clash. It was kind of weird. Bakersfield, California is the setting for Smackdown on this Tuesday. Randy's entering the arena to kick off the show when a new interview girl, Charlie Caruso, interviews him and mentioned that he will face Del Rio later on. And Orton says he's known Lesnar for 15 years. He's not worried about the Legend of the Beast because he's the Legend Killer. And did his Viperville line, which is getting way overplayed, don't you think, Matt? It was cool the first time, but now every time he's on TV, he says
I don't think we'll hear anything about Viperville after SummerSlam. If I'm wrong, maybe after SummerSlam, he needs to relax on Viperville. But for now, I don't mind it. You can probably make some T-shirts out of that. It should be all right.
I liked Del Rio walking up and saying Viperville sounds like a joke, like Disneyland. I thought that was pretty good. That basically, they trade barbs at the beginning of the show to set up the match later on. I thought that was a great open. Oh, hey, they're promoting a match on Smackdown. Something Raw didn't do. Oh, hey, we're going to throw this United States title match together at 2 after the third hour. 2 minutes after the third hour. After the opening after the opening credits, so to speak, Bray Wyatt comes out with Eric Rowan. Wyatt says that he didn't fall to Dolph Ziggler; he's the victim, and claimed that Ziggler was desperate and rammed Wyatt's face into the steel because he knew that was the only way. Are we slowly seeing a double turn with Wyatt and Ziggler, Matt?
I would like that a lot better, to be perfectly honest. But I don't think that's the direction they're heading. But we'll see.
Ambrose comes out and is laughing at Wyatt because he knows how dangerous Wyatt is, but why are you being such a baby? Why are you playing the victim card? And Wyatt says, well, why don't you come to the ring and tell that to me there? And that led to Dolph Ziggler coming out because he's still pissed at the Wyatt family. He bypasses Ambrose and goes to fight Rowan and Wyatt. Ambrose thinks about it for a minute before he jumps in the ring to help out Dolph Ziggler. Wyatt has Ambrose set up for the Sister Abigail. Ziggler was going to go for a super kick, but Wyatt lifts up Ambrose and Ziggler hits the super kick on Ambrose. Uh-oh! And I thought that was a great segment right there with those four guys. I thought it was exciting. It was cool. A lot of stuff to build on from it, Matt. It was like the opening segment with Orton and Del Rio, and this little 10-minute thing was like everything in 15 minutes that Raw didn't have in 3 hours.
I can't argue your point, sir.
I mean, hello. Ziggler is backstage after the commercial break, and Ambrose comes up to him and tells him what you did wasn't an accident. And Ziggler said he's just getting even. He was trying to get even with the Wyatts from last week. Ambrose told Ziggler that he owes him one. That's when McMahon and Bryan show up and say they're going to team together to face Wyatt and Rowan in the main event of SmackDown this week. American Alpha makes their entrance to face to face jobbers. I like how jobbers are back in the world of WWE. Jobber matches are always fun. Prior to the match, though, the Ascension, the Vaudevillains, the Hype Bros come out to watch the match because American Alpha on Talking Smack made the proclamation that they're the best tag team in SmackDown. No Usos, as Jimmy Uso is dealing with an injury, and no Breezango anyway either. I don't know where they were, but American Alpha takes care of the jobbers in 2 minutes, and then the four teams kind of have a little bit of a melee, where in the end American Alpha is the last team standing in the ring. Nice little thing there. Probably no tag team announcement until back for Backlash, I'd assume. Maybe, Matt, does that probably sound like a good time to say we're going to introduce these tag team championships?
I would introduce both the tag team and women's championship at Backlash. There's no need to do it at SummerSlam because I feel it's going to be crowded enough as it is. But on your first standalone pay-per-view, you only have 2 titles. You have to fill a 3-hour show and a pre-show. Yeah, I think that's the perfect time to add your other titles to the mix and make things happen.
And we'll get to this in a minute, but SmackDown finally did the women right this week for the first time. I thought they had 2 solid segments with 2 feuds, and compared to what they did the first 2 weeks of the women, I thought SmackDown did great things with the women's segments this week.
Yes, compared to the first 2 weeks, it was a step in the right direction.
Renee Young at the Talking Smack desk with Miz and Maurice, and I thought it was hilarious how Miz and Maurice are laying on the table staring at each other in front of Renee Young. I thought that was funny as hell. look for Miz to drop the Intercontinental title sometime soon and get up in the main event picture. I think Miz deserves it. With him and Maurice have been money since Maurice came back. Becky Lynch makes her entrance, and then Eva Marie makes her spectacular entrance, as always. I love it. She jumps off that second rope to show that she doesn't have an injury to her leg this week. But then her top pops off, Matt. Oops.
Yeah, I had a friend who was there live, and he said he definitely saw something that wasn't shown on TV. So I don't know if he was sitting on the floor. He was sitting on the floor, a couple rows behind the commentator's table. So he claims he saw something. I think he was seeing what he wanted to see. I don't really think he saw anything, but that's what he claims. So
that lucky son of a gun. Ref grabs the towel and covers up Eva, and she leaves. And Charlie interviews Becky, and she's pissed. She said she wants a fight. Come at me, bro. Out comes Alexa Bliss. And Alexa Bliss says she is Team Blue's hottest star, and she's here to bring some bliss to SmackDown Live. And couldn't think of a better way than to knock off SmackDown's first female draft pick. I thought that was well done to get Bliss more introduced into the brand. And she took on Becky Lynch in it was a short match, unfortunately, but Bliss hits the Twisted Bliss and gets the win on Becky Lynch. So a big push there for Alexa Bliss. A lot of that, though, was due to Eva coming out. They replayed her whole entrance again and stuff to distract Becky Lynch. They said on Talking Smack, Eva Marie was on Talking Smack, and she said there's going to be her spectacular debut next week. Really? Are we going to really? I
feel we're finally going to get her. I feel we're finally going to get a match with her next week. I feel this has run its course, and I feel they have to. I feel they have to pull the trigger.
Does she do something like a walk away count out thing? So then they set up the SummerSlam match.
Oh God, I don't know.
Next up is Orton and Del Rio. They went 13 minutes, and this was I love this match. I don't know about you, Matt, but I thought this was well done. A couple of guys that haven't really gone at it in quite some time, but a couple of veterans, and this match was really damn good. And Del Rio looked like he could win it at any time, but he was working on Orton's arm and shoulder, and in the end just said fuck it, grabbed a chair and hit Orton in the arm with it to get DQ'd. And then they played it off where Orton can hit the RKO out of nowhere even when he's hurt, as he dropped Del Rio after the match. What did you think of that match between Orton and Del Rio, Matt?
I thought it was a good match. But to me, this close to SummerSlam, I don't think there's any reason why Orton shouldn't have gone over Del Rio clean. They're not doing anything with Alberto right now. You're fighting Brock, which is clearly one of the biggest matches on the SummerSlam card, and you can't even finish off Del Rio. Like, why are we supposed to believe that you can beat Brock at SummerSlam now? I feel it was a bad call on their part.
I think it was a good call setting up the arm, I think, to play into the storyline where Brock can use the Kimura on it. I think that was good. Yeah, I agree with you on not having him win clean. But at the same time, they do really need to build up Del Rio again and make that SmackDown roster worth something again. So I think they did a good job of that, having him hang with Orton and ending it in the DQ. I liked it. I didn't hate it. And I think it's a good setup for a storytelling with the Kimura possibility there. Rhino is getting ready backstage. Heath Slater walks up to him and says, if you could just, lay down for me, man. I got 2 kids and I just bought a pool. And Rhino talks about winning the primary election in Michigan, and he needs to impress his constituents. And Slater said, well, I can't let my 4 kids down. Rhino's like, I thought you said you had 2 kids. The old Total Recall. I got 5 kids to feed. And Rhino asked him what kind of pool he had, and Slater said, it's a nice above-ground pool. And Rhino says, I can't help you. I thought it was pretty good. Heath Slater has been just awesome lately, Matt.
I agree. Slater's been great.
They did a segment with Miz and Scooby-Doo. I thought that was a lot funnier than the Goldust one on Monday that I completely skipped over.
No, it didn't take much to be funnier.
We didn't miss it either. So Heath Slater and Rhino. And I love how Atunga was pulling for Slater because they were in the Nexus, and Brian even said that himself before. The match did only go 3 minutes. Slater tried to do a pin with his feet on the ropes. The ref stops the count. Slater argues with the ref, turns around into a gore for the 1, 2, 3. They did a backstage promo with Rowan and Wyatt, and then they come back from commercial. Shane and Daniel Bryan are all set to give Heath Slater a contract, but he comes in all pissed off and insults SmackDown and leaves. So, where are they going to go with this now?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't want him to end up on Raw. Just because he's just going to get lost in the shuffle over there. They had 3 hours on Monday night and they didn't have time for Sami Zayn. How much time do you think they're going to have for Heath Slater?
They had no time for Jinder Mahal, so...
Yeah, I think he really needs to be... He needs to be on Tuesday nights. That's where he's going to get the most use.
I'd love to see him as Intercontinental Champion sometime.
Now, to do that, he'd have to be on SmackDown.
Natalya and Carmella go head-to-head. Carmella doing her entrance, and Natalya was trying to sneak up from behind like she did last week, but Carmella was ready for it. And unfortunately, this match only went 4 minutes, but again, they're doing the women a lot better than they have been the last couple weeks. Carmella taps out Natty. How about that? The NXT ladies having a good night on SmackDown, Matt.
I'd say the only unfortunate thing is the crowd still doesn't give a shit about Carmella.
Nope, they need.
I think they did her a gigantic disservice by not drafting her to Raw and not putting her with Enzo and Cass. I really think they've hurt her overall value that she had as a part of that group. And I think she's suffering from it really badly on SmackDown right now. And if I'm WWE, you can easily do a trade. I mean, there's girls on Raw that you could flip flop over for.
Have they even used Summer Rae yet?
Haven't used Summer Rae yet. Haven't used Alicia Fox yet. If you're not going to use them, trade them. And I would send Carmella to Raw as a part of to be with Enzo and Cass to get her over in that group. Because once you get her over on that group to the main audience for the next 6 months to a year, and then if you want to break her off on her own afterwards, then she's going to be fine. But to break her off before the main audience gets to see what she's all about, hurt her badly. And it hasn't been good for her. I feel really bad for her because I feel they've really done her wrong over the last several months, ever since Enzo and Cass got called up to Raw. I feel they've just made one bad decision after another regarding Carmella, and it's not good. Like, unless something happened that we don't know about, like Cass and Carmella broke up, like, I hadn't heard that, but if that happened and they're just trying to keep them separated now, I guess that's one thing. But at the same token, you're not doing her any favors if you care about her long-term future with the company as far as getting a reaction from the fans, because right now she ain't getting shit.
Yeah, I don't know. Her debut on SmackDown was crickets.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't much better this week.
No. In SmackDown, continuing to do stuff that makes sense. Baron Corbin beating the shit out of Kalisto. For costing him his chance at the Intercontinental title. That good way to build up a feud there between those two guys.
Didn't really like the segment, but I liked the idea behind it, if that makes sense.
Why did you not like it?
I didn't like the way it was shot.
Okay.
I wasn't a fan of the way it was shot. I'd rather Corbin would have like attacked him in a hallway or something, thrown him through some boxes, slam up against the interview segment table or something. It's just the way it was shot in the tiny corner. It didn't do it for me. I like the idea behind it, I get what they were trying to do, but I didn't really dig the execution.
Solid main event to end SmackDown Live. Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose took on Wyatt and Rowan. Very decent match here between these guys. With Ziggler and Ambrose coming out on top, and of course, to nobody's surprise, as they're celebrating, Dean then hits Dirty Deeds on Ziggler.
It was a receipt for the super kick at the beginning of the night. I didn't have a problem with it at all.
Nope. We all knew it was coming. He owed him one. But good show from SmackDown this week, Matt. And wow, 3 weeks in, and SmackDown's got a 2-1 lead, don't they?
Absolutely, in my opinion, anyway. The tide is definitely turned for the blue brand. I feel it's as if the creative team of SmackDown took all of the criticism that they received on week 1 to heart and really went to work on making their show better, whereas Raw's creative team let their egos get inflated over how great the first week's show was, and then have just let their show go to shit.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll see how the go-home shows are next week, but obviously if the rest are earlier in 2016 is any indication, the go-home shows sometimes have been pretty lackluster too. So we'll have to see what happens. This week in pro wrestling, 1993, Tito Santana defeats Don Morocco for the ECW heavyweight title in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to end Morocco's second title reign. Yes, that ECW, but no, not that ECW.
Way to confuse the listeners, JB. Good job.
Yes. Eastern Championship Wrestling before it morphed into Extreme. This week in 2010, WWE signed then reigning ROH champion Tyler Black to a developmental deal. I think Tyler Black's done okay in the WWE, Matt. What do you think?
Oh, just a little bit.
How you doing? 1 year later, Ring of Honor announced that they signed their own big dude, Jay Lethal, to a deal. He was in Ring of Honor from 03 to 06. He was a former ROH Pure Champion. What is that, Matt? Is that what the television title became?
It was a division in Ring of Honor with a very strict set of rules. It only lasted a couple of years. It wasn't around very long. It was cool. Like, you could only have, 3 ring breaks in a match, and there were just, certain, really technical rules to it. It was, I'm assuming they got rid of it just because it was overly, for the average fan, very difficult to follow. But the idea on paper was neat.
Speaking to the great additions for the NWA, Saturday nights at 5:05 on TBS. This week in 1986, Ric Flair defeated Dusty Rhodes for the NWA World Heavyweight title in St. Louis, winning the title for his 5th time. He pinned Rhodes when Rhodes passed out from the pain of a figure-4 leg lock, where the Four Horsemen the previous night had attacked that leg in a famous scene. This week in 1997, one of the most famous matches in ECW history, yes, that ECW, Born to be Wired, the barbed wire match between Terry Funk and Sabu took place in Philly. This was a brutal, bloody match. It actually ended early because Funk and Sabu became so entangled in the barbed wire that Sabu pinned Funk rather than trying to separate them and attempt more spots. The two men literally had to be cut out of the barbed wire after the match. Sabu sliced open his bicep on the barbed wire. He ended up winning the ECW World title, but only to lose it a week later at Hardcore Heaven. Thanks for cutting yourself open, Sabu. We're taking the title off you now.
When didn't he cut himself open?
Yeah, true. You ever seen that match?
I've seen a bunch of Sabu's bloody exploits. I'm sure at one point I saw it. I just don't remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah, that one with Funker was brutal. This week in 2014, former WWE Intercontinental Champion Jason Albert, who wrestled as Albert, Tensai, and Giant Bernard, noted he has considered himself retired, and then a year later he'd go on to become the head coach of NXT. This week in 1977, Terry Boulder, soon to be known as Hulk Hogan, made his in-ring debut facing Brian Blair in Tampa, Florida. This week in 1980, I'm afraid I got some bad news, as Wade Barrett was born. This week in 1992, Big Van Vader defeated Riki Choshu, to win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. This week in 2003, Christian defeats Booker T for the Intercontinental Championship in Des Moines, Iowa. This marked the start of Christian's third IC title run. The title change took place at a house show, never aired on television. Booker T was suffering from a back injury at the time and was going to need several months off. Do you think, now that we've got some brand splits and stuff, do you think they should do more title changes at house shows, Matt?
I don't see why not. To me, it encourages people to go to the local house show in their area.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do things that encourage people to go, they have no reason to be. House shows are so boring now. You go there. Look, if you want a great night of wrestling, you're probably going to get that at a house show. But you already know who's going to win every single match before the bell even rings. And the only time the bad guys win is if they're holding the title at the time, because they can't lose the title. It's just, you got to give people a reason to walk in the door. And I think certain things like surprises and title changes and stuff like that would be very good at house shows.
This week in 2007, the wellness policy does some good for a WWE superstar. It was announced that MVP had an abnormal accessory pathway to his heart and would have been life-threatening if it was untreated. So that was a good thing that they had discovered in MVP due to a wellness policy physical. And finally, this week in 2012, WWE released Abraham Washington. What's his favorite player? Kobe Bryant, Matt?
I don't know.
You don't remember?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Kobe Bryant. He made the Kobe Bryant rape joke on the microphone. That's what got him fired. Back when he had him. I don't know who he was managing at the time.
I think it was the primetime players.
Might have been, yeah. And he was on the mic. He was on the mic.
I remember now that you bring it up. Why you gotta bring that shit up? Keep the wrestle crap off Lost in the Midcard, sir.
No, never. Bobby Roode comes out of William Regal's office to start NXT, and thanking William Regal, and Regal says he's got a contract signing to attend to. Regal is at in the ring with the table and the contracts, and says Bayley will face the woman who beat her for the title, Asuka. The match will be official when they sign their contract. Bayley says she's been fighting this for 3.5 years. She's faced the most successful women in the company, and she has always been seen as the underdog. And that was until last year when the underdog became the champion. That title became a part of her. If Brooklyn was a dream, then Dallas was her nightmare, and she was not ready or prepared for how tough that match would be. She says she's now ready, and Asuka, you're the toughest woman she's been in the ring with, but the mystique is gone. She will go to Brooklyn and do what no one has done. She will beat Asuka and become a 2-time champion. Asuka says Bayley does not have what it takes. She respects Bayley and offers her hand. Bayley says she respects Asuka, but the last time there was a contract signed, she was left laying on the mat and tells Asuka to sign the contract or history will repeat itself. Asuka signs. It is now official. They stare each other down. Asuka offers her hand, but Bayley slaps it away and leaves the ring. Bayley returns to the ring after hearing what Asuka says and gets in her face. Asuka holds the title over her head as she leaves the ring. What'd you think of that contract signing tonight, Matt?
It was fine. It was a decent contract signing. I'm looking forward to the match. I already know who's going to win, so it's kind of, whatever.
Authors of Pain kill Tara Rising Jr. and Adrian Nails. And after the match, they do a little beatdown, but Nails and Rising's opponents from last week, TM61, come to the ring and try to make the save. But Miller is powerbombed and Thorne is sent to the mat with a double team move. So that was thwarted. So it looks like TM61 will be the first real test for the Authors of Pain coming up. Shinsuke Nakamura is interviewed and is asked about Samoa Joe's threats to take him out before Brooklyn, and he says he's not hard to find. and he tells Joe he will find Joe when he wants to. Nakamura looks for Joe as he leaves the interview area. Nakamura, just amazing, right, Matt?
Nakamura's the best, dude.
Andrade Cien Almas takes on Angelo Dawkins in a very quick match. After the match, glorious! The glorious Bobby Roode comes out. He says it was impressive. That match was a little sloppy, rough around the edges, but you did get the win. He said he's talked to William Regal and says that at TakeOver needs some more star power. 15,000 people stuffed into the Barclays Center. It needs something. It needs to be glorious. And William Regal agreed, and Bobby said he will be in a match against Almas. Congrats, Almas. Congratulates Almas and says that since Almas has trouble with English, he will say it slow for him. Ooh. And the people in Brooklyn are not paying to see Almas. They're paying to see him. TakeOver will be the showcase, and that night will be glorious. And that's why Bobby Roode is so great, Matt.
He's awesome, dude. How can you hate?
Austin Aries is talking to William Regal about nutrition, and he slams down William's laptop. Austin says he wants to talk about TakeOver. He wants to know how special the shows are, and if he's not on the card. And says he does not have an opponent. Everyone has an opponent but the greatest man to ever live. Regal says someone of Austin's stature needs an opponent, and it will be someone Austin knows real well, and who he's been avoiding. No Way Jose.
No way. Jose.
Yeah, did we really seriously think Austin Aries was not going to fight No Way Jose at Brooklyn? I mean, come on. Billie Kay, Matt's favorite lady of NXT. She takes on Liv Morgan, and pretty quick match there for Billie Kay, as I think she's going to be one of those girls that they get built up here once Bayley leaves. You agree, Matt?
Oh, absolutely. It seems like she's getting the push. I'm kind of worried she might be fed to Ember Moon at TakeOver, though.
Yeah, is that official that she's taking on Ember Moon, or
they haven't said who her opponent is, but it's just they've been building up Billie Kay on TV for weeks now, and I kind of feel like they're gonna feed her to the wolves, so to speak.
Cruiserweight Classic, gentlemen, Rich Swann. Speaking of gentlemen, Jack Gallagher and Noam Dar in the front row as they show highlights from Gargano versus Ciampa. Amazing match at the CWC. Gargano and Ciampa with William Regal. He praises them for their match last week and asks them if the match will affect their teamwork because they're going to be facing the Revival at TakeOver. And Johnny and Tommaso said that families fight. And Tommaso says he chooses to have Johnny as his partner. They will beat the Revival and become the next NXT Tag Team Champions. Ciampa and Gargano then take on Tucker Knight and Tough Enough's own Patrick Clark. What did you see some improvements, some good stuff out of Patrick Clark the second time around on NXT, Matt?
Yeah, I thought it was a good solid tag match. I mean, it wasn't really long, but I liked it. I thought it was good.
Tucker Knight sounds familiar. I think he's been probably a jobber on NXT before.
Yeah, he's been around.
Obviously, a match for Gargano and Ciampa to tune up to get ready for TakeOver. And God, TakeOver is already just over a week away. Matt, man, this is just jumping up at us real quick. They take a look at Hideo Itami's return to NXT last week, and then they have Mojo Rawley getting ready for his match with Samoa Joe. Rawley says that Joe's messing with the wrong guy, and tonight he's going to bring the fight to Joe. It isn't about getting hyped. Samoa Joe took on Mojo Rawley. Mojo was a ball of fire to start off the match, but then once Joe got in control, it was pretty much game over. And he ends up choking out Mojo Rawley. After the match, Joe applies the choke once again on Mojo, and officials come to the ring. Nakamura's music plays, and that gets Joe to let go of the hold. And Nakamura makes his way to the ring. Security runs to the ring to get between Joe and Nakamura. They hold Joe back, but they don't do anything to Nakamura, and then Nakamura grabs Joe's nose. And then slaps Joe while Joe's being held back. Gotta love Nakamura. I cannot wait for that match, man. That's
we've had it. Be amazing.
We've had a year of insane matches already, and I think Nakamura and Joe is just going to add on to that.
Loser goes to SmackDown, please.
Mm-hmm. Cruiserweight Classic, we are now finally into the round of 16. 2 matches highlight the night. Tajiri takes on Grand Metalik in the part of the bracket that JB fucked up royally. The only 2 matches I got wrong. And this was a great match. I fully am expecting Tajiri is in this to just kind of get him back into the WWE mold, because I think they're going to use him on Raw, Matt.
They might. He looked great in the entire tournament. So, couldn't hurt.
And something that surprised the hell out of me, a lot of ground game with reversals and counter holds between Tajiri and Grand Metalik to start off the match. I was a little surprised there. Crowd pops at Tajiri putting on the octopus on Metalik, but then Metalik counters with an ankle lock. Then things got back to where we expected them to be. Metalik hits a springboard back elbow for a near fall, and then sets up for that Metalik driver, which was that screwdriver kind of thing that Mauro called. An amazing finisher that he has. But Tajiri escapes and connects with some elbows, a back heel kick, and then sends Metalik into the turnbuckle and puts him in the tree of woe. Then Tajiri hits the baseball slide drop kick, gets a near fall. Tajiri hits a round kick, but Metalik with a boot to the head, and then gives the power bomb to Tajiri for a near fall. Tajiri goes for the buzzsaw kick, but misses, and Tajiri with the sunset flip into submission, but Metalik kicks Tajiri to get out of the hold, and then locks in that Metalik driver for the 3 count. So Grand Metalik will take on your winner of Jack Gallagher and Akira Tozawa next week, as actually that match is going to happen. And after the match, they shake hands, and Metalik shows respect to Tajiri by bowing to him. Very cool match, Matt, between these 2 gentlemen. I did not know much about Grand Metalik coming in, but I love his finisher, and I really hope he's either in NXT or Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I mean, every week when they've been advertising the Cruiserweight division, they've been using the Cruiserweight Classic footage to do so. Mm-hmm. So to me, it makes no sense. If you're in the final 8 of this tournament, you should be coming to Raw afterwards. Whoever wins the tournament should be the first ever Cruiserweight champion, or the new Cruiserweight champion. There have been Cruiserweight champions before, but the first ever of the new era. They should be the champ. The other 7 should be coming with them. They should all be coming to Raw. You mix them in with like Neville and Sin Cara and shit, and you're gonna have one hell of a great Cruiserweight division on Raw. I think it's gonna be fucking awesome.
I don't know if Sin Cara's below 205 after seeing him on Monday.
Are you gonna tell him that?
Yeah, I will. Oh no, wait, no, he punches.
That's what I said. I gotta say, you gonna tell him that? I ain't telling him shit.
I told you this on Twitter, Matt, during CWC tonight. I really wish Gallagher and Tozawa were on opposite sides of that left side of the bracket.
Well, I wish Cedric Alexander wasn't on the same side of the bracket with Kota Ibushi.
But then we wouldn't have got what we got tonight, I think.
Yeah, otherwise. I know, but still,
there was magic in
it. It was amazing.
Because it's Noam Dar and Ho Ho Lun. I like Noam Dar a lot. I fully expect him to win because Ho Ho Lun still looks kind of green. So I fully expect
Ho Ho Lun's gone.
Yeah, Noam Dar's good.
I think they're regretting even letting him get out of the first round.
Yeah, I think, but I think it's Tozawa's to go through.
I agree.
All right, Matt. Here we are. Let's end the show with match of the year across all boards. A contender for match of the year among all promotions and companies. Cedric Alexander, a guy we've talked about a lot on this Lost in the Midcard show when he was in Ring of Honor. Against a guy we haven't talked much about until the CWC, Kota Ibushi.
Yeah, but my first time seeing Kota live wasn't even until Dallas this weekend. I saw him live WrestleMania weekend. Yeah, that was my first time seeing him live. And getting to see what he's doing now, and getting to see, after all the time, to be perfectly blunt, ROH not using Cedric Alexander to his full potential. It was just a crescendo of amazement tonight. from bell to bell.
I was just going to say kind of the same thing. We came out of this tonight seeing superstar out of Cedric Alexander. There was, what point in Ring of Honor did we say that we saw superstar out of Cedric Alexander?
I mean, I always liked the guy. I always liked his work, but
superstar.
I never felt that he was given the opportunity to showcase what he could do.
Yeah.
And be allowed to be at that upper end of the Ring of Honor card. And I think he proved tonight, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that ROH, you guys missed the boat.
They a feeling out process between Alexander and Ibushi to start off the match, but then, oh my fucking god, did they amp up the intensity. I mean, there was Ibushi going for a moonsault off the top rope to the outside, only for Alexander to duck it. Oh, that looks so brutal. The chops, the strikes. I mean, it wasn't just about high spots in this thing. It wasn't high spot city at all. There was so many strikes that were brutal. Obviously, Ibushi known for his kicks, but Alexander getting some good chops in on Ibushi as well. And they had the crowd eating out of the palm of their hand, didn't they, Matt?
Yeah, dude. They were eating up every minute of it.
To close out the match, Alexander gets his boots up, and Ibushi hits an exploder that sends Alexander to the floor. That was brutal. Ibushi goes for a double jump moonsault and hits it. Both men are down, and the referee starts his 10 count. Morrow reminds us if they both get counted out, they're both gone from the tournament. And they're also pushing the 20-minute time limit as well. Ibushi sends Alexander back into the ring and gets a near fall. Signals for his Golden Star powerbomb, but Alexander blocks it and hits a Michinoku driver for a near fall. Alexander waits for Ibushi to get up, and Ibushi chops Alexander while Alexander's on the turnbuckle. He tries for a Frankensteiner, but Alexander holds onto the ropes and lands on his feet. That was a sick spot right there. Alexander hits a forearm, but Ibushi hits a Pele kick. That was just an insane set of moves right there. Just a crazy sequence of moves. Ibushi sets up for the powerbomb, but Alexander lands on his feet and hits an enziguri in the corner, followed by a sick brain buster. The crowd went nuts for the brain buster. A near fall. Alexander then hits a round kick for a near fall, goes to the apron, pulls Ibushi into position, goes for a double foot stomp, but Ibushi moves, hits a German suplex, a round kick, and then the Golden Star powerbomb for the 1, 2, 3. Holy fuck, Matt. I mean, and then on top of that, you got Morrow and Daniel Bryan calling the match, which was just icing on the cake, wasn't it?
Dude, you can't say enough good things about the match. It was all the moons and the planets aligned, and it was a work of art. Even the aftermath of the match was a work of art. Everything about it was perfect. It was great.
It was phenomenal. Kota Ibushi is going to face the winner of Tony Nese and the Brian Kendrick. They go to Corey in the control center, which prompts me to say, oh my god, they didn't show the greatest moment. But wait. First, next week, there's going to be 3 matches on the show. Akira Tozawa, Jack Gallagher, Noam Dar, Ho-Ho Lun, Brian Kendrick, Tony Nese. So then I'm assuming they kind of they'll probably do 2, 3, and 3 to set up to finish out the second round is what I'm assuming they're going to do instead of 4 weeks of 2 matches.
Yeah, I was surprised, but yeah, that's what they want to do.
We go back to Full Sail. It's not over yet. The crowd is applauding Cedric Alexander. Chants of please sign Cedric basically drive Cedric to tears.
Yeah, you can tell he was very emotional.
Then Triple H comes out, shakes Cedric's hand, gives the crowd the thumbs up as he walks Cedric to the back. How cool was that?
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
And we knew the moment happened on Twitter because of the pictures and everything. But actually showing it, I'm so glad they aired it.
I'd have been very disappointed had they not.
I think they made a superstar right there. You know, we knew Cedric Alexander was good, but his match with Ibushi made him a superstar. Very cool. That's going to do it for this edition of Lost in the Midcard. A little shorter edition, but don't worry, that's a calm before the storm. We got 3 pay-per-view quality events to talk about next week. But as always, thank you to SpiderDuck.net for being our host and enabling us to be on iTunes and any of your favorite podcasting apps. All you got to do is search for Lost in the Midcard and hit subscribe. That way you know every time our show hits your earwaves, every Thursday, and then also every Monday after a WWE pay-per-view. The link, we're also subscribable on YouTube, and the links to both of those are on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Lost in the Midcard. You can also follow us on the Twitter at LITMC Podcast. My co-host Matt Black is on the Twitter at Raw Showtime. I am on the Twitter, Jeremy Bennett at JB Huskers. And before we wrap this thing up, Matt, what are your final thoughts?
Raw needs a rebound week in the worst way next week, leading into SummerSlam. And I would like to see SmackDown continue the momentum and not slide backwards. But next week is SmackDown's week to lose. And then you're rolling into one of the biggest weekends of the year. Good Lord. There's just so much is right around the corner, man.
I know. Do you have high hopes for the go-home shows?
I wouldn't say high hopes. But I would say I feel both shows would be very beneficial to have a very hot go-home show leading into SummerSlam to cement that final hard sell to get people to buy the network. I think Raw and SmackDown need to put their best foot forward. So hopefully they do.
We're going to have a lot to cover with SummerSlam, TakeOver, Death Before Dishonor. We will get you ready for all of those shows and everything more. For Matt Black, this is Jeremy Bennett. Have a good one. We will catch you next week.